Hey friends, Michael Patton here. Welcome to Theology Unplugged. We're going to be talking about this concept, what is God? Let's just jump right into it. Okay, let's see here. The concept of what is God toward a philosophy of the ontology of God. And just remember, ontology is that fancy word that talks about the stuff of God. So instead of asking the question, who is God, which is a question that we often ask and should ask, I think that this is a more fundamental question. Whenever you're talking to people out on the street, you may have to say, whoa, wait a minute. Before we start talking about God, what is God to you? What does it mean to be God? Not who is God, but what is God? Because I think it will reveal quite a bit about the starting point and where you need to go from there. There are 4 ways people define the term God. Okay, 4 different ways. We're going to look at each one of these ways one by one, but first I'm going to go over them all. First definition, often when we say the word God, that we think of as this: God is that which we worship. So whatever it is you are worshiping in your life, that is God. Second one is God as that which we see as celestial beings. So God is that which is a celestial being, or you see as celestial beings. In other words, you could have one celestial being or many. The point is, God is something that is above and beyond you. God is that which we see as creator. Sometimes we will talk about this, and throughout our time here, we'll talk about it as the unmoved mover. And then finally, God as that which we see as the greatest conceivable being. So do you get those 3? Hang on. We're going to go through each one of them one by one. So let's talk about God as that which we worship. You've got a definition of God that does not limit who God is. As a matter of fact, I think it expands it quite a bit, because whenever you're talking about that which we worship, we are defining worship in a very particular way. And I think most people would agree that whatever you worship, whoever you worship, that is your God. So we say that which we ascribe worth to. That is really what worship is whenever you talk about with the English word. And I think this is a great way for you guys to think about it from now on, is just to say what it is that you give worth to. What is worth a lot to you? What is worth a lot to you in your life? And to further expand that, I like to look at the Hebrew understanding of worship, which is kabod. What does kabod mean? It means glory. And so whenever you're talking about worshiping, we're talking about ascribing glory to. But here's the deal. This is the key. Glory in the Hebrew comes from the same word that we get weight or heaviness from. So if something is weighty to you, or if it is heavy to you, that means it has your glory. And in this sense, your worship. So what are some of the things we have as examples? I'm going to go through a bunch of examples for each one of these, but think of some. I think the first thing is you can talk about objects. There are objects in our life. Sometimes we call these idols, specific idols. Now in America, we usually don't have too many of these type of idols. But whenever you're talking about idols, things that you ascribe worth to, the things that you count as the most valuable in your life, there is what I would put as mine. This Camaro, 1969 Camaro Z28, or we could go with the RSSS. It doesn't matter to me. But whenever I look at this, I think, man, that is worth a lot. That is worthy. That is heavy in my life. And so I might say, in some cases, you can ascribe so much worth to something that you are actually worshiping it. So you got certain idols or possessions. That would be something. So think of something in your life, something that is yours, that is very heavy, that you may be in danger of saying, this is heavier in my life. It is more weighty. It causes me to push towards this more than God himself. How about power? You could ascribe worth to power. What are you going for in your power? Whenever you're thinking, I want to be somebody of power, of strength, what do you mean by that? And how much do you desire or aspire to be such? So you could think really, really big, like a leader of a country, or you could think just somebody who, now here's, my wife got a picture of me from the back while I was doing a pull-up earlier, so this helps out. So this is power. Power talks about politics or military or physical might. Also, you can talk about popularity or fame. What do some people want so much to be known, to be seen, to be looked at, to be admired whenever they are looked at, not simply because of some of the things that they accomplish that may be really truly weighty, but simply because of who they are, what they look like, and just their popularity. So you may look at certain things like this, or you may aspire to be such, and then you say, that is weighty in my life. How about this? You got, well, whenever you talk about there, you're talking about social media. You're talking about how many followers you have, how many clicks you have, how many, however it is, how many views you have, and you're continually refreshing to check and see what that is like. How about security? Whenever you're talking about security, you can put in there money, because whenever we're acquiring money, maybe you think of money as something that people are going to look at you and ascribe worth to you, heaviness to you, because you have money, or maybe it's just security in your life. Ultimately, money is your security. You don't really, you don't care if anybody knows about it. As a matter of fact, maybe you hide it from everybody because you don't want anybody to know. Well, in this case, maybe it is that you are ascribing great value to the security that you see money bringing in your life. So whenever you're talking about this, you can go to doctors as well. Your health, what your doctor says about you or what he could say. You worry about this to such a degree that it seems to have a lot of heaviness in your life. I want to make sure that I'm healthy. I want to make sure I don't have cancer. I want to make sure that I'm going to live past this next day. And how heavy is that in your life? How important is that? It's not as if power or security, military might from our country, whatever these are, it's not as if they are inherently bad things, but at the same time, whenever you have weightiness to it, you ascribe worth to it to such a degree that it consumes your thoughts, your time, how you treat other people. There's all kinds of things. Security of marriage. Some people see this. I've seen this very close up a lot of times, where marriage itself was such an idol, such a god to people. They worshipped it. So you've got all of these things, your military. The next thing is going to, oh shoot, this didn't work out. See, the next one was supposed to be attractiveness. So you got attractiveness, and look at this. You've got the Camaro again, but I'm starting off with this guy. Yeah, look at this. I mean, whenever you're talking about attractive, yes, this is it. I'm not talking about the pictures on the background or the pictures on this guy's shirt. I'm talking about that guy. I mean, that is incredible. What a guy. I mean, you may aspire all your life to looking like this. Trust me. I mean, some people it comes easy, and I shouldn't brag about it, but sometimes it does. Now that's an old picture. I looked for pictures of myself. How did I do this? I just went onto the web and asked Google to find me pictures, and it found this one. I'm like, hey, that guy is that's back in a different day. That's back before I myself had as much glory as I do, weightiness. But look, we're back to the Camaro too. Now that is a 2024 SS Camaro. You've got to say that's nice. Maybe not as good as the 69, but that is nice. So you've got attractiveness, women being beautiful, Camaros. I mean, whatever it is, attractiveness that could fall under the idea of popularity or fame as well. So what is this illustrated like? Well, let me give you just some definite illustrations of worship, that which we ascribe worth or value to. How about going to church 4 times a week? Now, if I saw you and you went to church 4 times a week, I would say that guy values whatever he is getting at church. Whenever I see somebody studying their Bible all the time, I would say that person values what he is learning from the Bible. I'm not saying the intentions in all this are always sincere or true, but whenever you look at people, you can see what they worship. Spending all your time watching sports, I could see what you really value. And I'm talking about to the exclusion of other things. You're scrolling through social media 6 hours a day. That takes up all your time. Let me tell you something. We are all worshiping something. We are all ascribing worth in our life to something. Binge watching Netflix for 12 hours. All of these, spending your day, all day playing Call of Duty. Now, I mean, these may be for young people, but whenever you have older people, there are different things that we worship as well. That maybe we're not spending all our time playing Call of Duty. Zombies, as much fun as that is, but we do other things that can take up our time, our value, and usually it has to do with working way too much, retaining a reputation. Those are the types of things that we do. Now, let me talk about some scripture that goes with this particular idea of who is God. Notice here, these are great references. Isaiah said, or God says in Isaiah, I am the Lord. That is my name, my glory, my weightiness, I give to no other, nor my praise to carved idols. How about this? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be off also. This really comes down to, what do you define as treasure? What is your treasure in your life? Because whatever your treasure is, wherever that's at, that's your heart too. So think about that. What do you treasure in your life? Where's your heart? How about this? You shall have no other gods before me. I like the way God put it here, because he works within their circumstance. And he says, there should be nothing that you treasure more than me. He did not just come in and say, I am the only God, therefore you don't have to worry about this. Just make sure you know that I'm the only God. No, he says, there's going to be a lot of things that you strive towards. There's going to be a lot of things you put various amounts of weight in, and that's okay. But at the same time, understand, I am the El Shaddai. I am the Lord God Almighty. I am ruler over all of these things. So whether it's money, whether it is back then crops or fertility, I'm the one you ultimately come to. You don't go ultimately to your doctor for your health, you come to me. Put no other gods. Do not worship anything. There's nothing more weighty than I am. How about Colossians chapter 2, 3 and 5 says, set your mind on things above, not earthly things. Put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature, greed, which is idolatry. Okay, so that's the first one. We set that aside just for a moment. We'll come back to it. But number 2, the second way you can define God is God as that which you see as a celestial being. Now, understand it the way I'm talking about it here, because I'm talking about it in some way that you say, whenever you think of God, you think of him as a higher power. And maybe that's kind of the place that you put it. It's this celestial power that you have, that you look towards. You see these things as having some type of attribute that is beyond that which the humans have, and therefore you define it as God. We have that kind of definition often of God, that which we view as having more power than humans. What are some examples? Well, we got lots of examples. How about angels? People look to angels and they may see them as the avenue to the divine. They may see them as the end. That's where the divine is ultimately at, because they have celestial power. What about Mary? I see people all the time, and I understand that the history of the church does not worship Mary in a very specific way. But at the same time, whenever you begin to give the type of love and honor, and whenever you're coming to this celestial being to answer the needs that you have, that is the person you are worshiping. So that which you have that has more power, it could be dead people you're talking to. You are trying to get information for something that is on the other side, put it that way. You are talking to somebody besides God, and it could be God, of course, because God is a celestial being. But if you're talking about how do we go wrong, whatever it is besides God that you are looking towards that has that power to give you what you want. Okay, how about the saints? We've got the saints as well. There's a patron saint of everything. And you may be looking to that. It's just like the gods, but just in a different way. Whenever you go to the gods of the Old Testament or the gods of the Middle East or the gods of India, they all have their own place, their own job that they fulfill. Now, I see Christianity replace it with basically the exact same thing and call it something different, where you have patron saints that you can pray to, that you go to and ask for that which it is you want, besides God, Yahweh. I even see this happening with aliens today. Now, the people may not even be Christians, but they're looking to aliens as something that is beyond us, something that has the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate power, or at least something that transcends what humans have, and you want to get information from them. You are looking for understanding from this being. So it's going beyond what it is that you have right now. So I even see people whenever they are doing the alien thing here, they're pointing their lights in the sky and praying to them. I've seen this quite a bit. I've seen this quite a bit from people that not only go for aliens, but all kinds of these cryptid monsters, where you have something like Bigfoot. I was listening to a guy the other day, and he said, you can get Bigfoot to come to you. You have to pray to him and pray that he comes. And I promise you, he tells this story that seems very real, that he prayed to Bigfoot and Bigfoot came. And I've seen this quite a bit in this kind of world, this world of aliens, this world of cryptids. And you see it more and more today, where people are going on alien watches, and there are certain things that they can do in order to get the aliens to show up. Now, again, back whenever you had the Greek pantheon, whenever you had anybody's pantheon of gods, they all had particular powers, particular things that you went to them, celestial beings that could help you in whatever area. I like to think of it even as this. You can think of it like superheroes, something that is transhuman. Whenever you look at Superman, you see him as something more than humans. He is more powerful. He belongs in a different stage. You look at Lex Luthor and the way he looks at Superman and the way he hates Superman, because he says, why do you get to be a god? And so understand God is this. In this realm, whenever you're talking about just as a celestial being, you can have lots of them. You can be a polytheist, having many, many gods, many, many powers that you go to fulfill the individual needs that you have besides God himself. Okay, so let's illustrate this. Well, whenever you're talking about illustrating this, here's a man bowing down before an idol in India. You have an ancient woman praying to Mars before, as her husband and son went off to war, or Venus before sex, because she needed a boy. She needed another boy. And so that's who you pray to. Checking horoscopes daily. Notice horoscopes are something that have power that transcends the normal human power. That's why it falls into the celestial being category. Whatever it is that the horoscope accesses, that is the God, that is the worship. That is who your God is whenever you are relying upon such a thing. Calling down aliens with the green laser pointer. I already talked about that. Praying to Saint Michael. Going to a haunted house to hunt for ghosts. I see this all the time whenever you have these ghost hunting. I've actually been on one of these. I did not, and I would not call upon any of the ghosts because I saw that as a violation, and it scared me, frankly. All me growing up, I always heard my Christian leaders say, don't do it or you'll take something home with you. I had no idea what that meant, but whenever I was out there, I did not want anything taken home with me. So I did not ask any ghosts to talk or anything, while all the other people around me, as I saw it, they were calling on something. And what are you ultimately doing? You're ultimately doing the same thing as every other one of these. You are looking to the other side. You are trying to talk to the dead. You are trying to talk to angels, demons, whatever it may be. Why are you doing that? Because you lack some information that you want to ask them. Whatever that may be, and you're not relying upon God, our God, for that. So that is basically why celestial being gets its own category like this. Or even woman consulting a medium after her son dies. You could see that, and you could see how that is praying to a celestial being. Let me give you some scriptures. Romans chapter 1:25. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshiped and served the creature rather than the creator. Whenever you are worshiping something, whenever you are ascribing this kind of power to celestial beings, you are worshiping and serving the creature rather than the creator. You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on earth beneath. Notice this. God sees as our tendency to do this kind of stuff, to find power somewhere else because we want more answers than what we have right now. Colossians chapter 2:18, do not let anyone who delights in false humility and the worship of angels disqualify you. There is a worship of angels, and there still is today. Their people's gods, they may say, oh yeah, my ultimate God is God, Yahweh, but who are you worshiping? It's another celestial being. How about this? I mean, there are so many scriptures to go with what it is I'm doing here. It was pretty exciting reading through all of these because they all really were pertinent to what it is we're talking about. All the counsel you have received has only worn you out. This is Isaiah chapter 47, which, by the way, if you can ever just sit down and read a big portion of scripture, read Isaiah 42 through 48. It is one of the most theologically rich, hilarious passages of scripture that there is in the scripture. And this is part of that. The counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward, and those stargazers who made predictions month by month, let them save you from what is coming upon you. And what he's doing is he's calling upon these people's celestial reference in order for them to go ahead and be their God. Don't come to me. If you're going to go to them, don't come to me. Okay, number 3. Now notice here, we've got this third one, and this moves us into a little bit different area. And these last two will move a little bit more quickly on, but doesn't mean they are any less important. Whenever you're talking about our third one, our third way in which whenever we say the term God, what we mean by that, we mean the creator. That God as that which we see as creator or unmoved mover. Notice here, it was a little bit more difficult, especially for these last two, to come up with my little fun illustrations here, but I got enough, okay? I got enough, because we do have lots of people, lots of religions, Less than you would think, but more than what you may know. Lots of religions who do believe in an ultimate creator God. Even the ones that have a pantheon sometimes have a God that whenever you back everything up is the unmoved mover. And that's what we're talking about here. The unmoved mover. This is Aristotle's word for God whenever he talks about a philosophy, his metaphysical philosophy, his philosophy of metaphysics, that which is above physics. What is it that is above us and beyond us? Well, you got the unmoved mover. And whenever you talk about the unmoved mover, we got that which we see as the one who started the universe. That is our definition. Now, think of some examples. What are some examples of an unmoved mover or the unmoved mover? Well, we start with, of course, we have Yahweh. Yahweh is that is the tetragrammaton, or the name of God for Christians and for Jews, especially as we find in the Old Testament, although in the New Testament it is equated with Jesus. But we talk about this in the sense of the Trinity, who God ultimately is when we're talking about Yahweh. That is his name, the being one, the one who is just existing, the one who is, the one who was, and the one who will always be, the one who is the guy who started it all. That's what it comes down to. Aristotle came up with this later on, the unmoved mover, and added a little bit of philosophical flair to this idea. And it's slightly surprising that it did take so long for there to be a standard philosophy. I'm not saying Aristotle's the only one who said this, but I'm saying whenever you come to Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and their development, this is kind of the development that the rest of the Western world follows in our understanding of metaphysics and truth, epistemology. But Aristotle said you back everything up, there is something that started the procession of activity, the unmoved mover, the uncaused cause. Now, Islam has this. Whenever you talk about Allah in their worldview, their God is the ultimate unmoved mover, just like Yahweh. But you may have a few others. This is the Trimurti, which is the Brahma, the Vishnu, and the Shiva. They are kind of this trinity within the Hindu religion. And some people may say, listen, that's the same thing, isn't it? Well, not really. It doesn't quite work out because you do not have them as a metaphysical reality that is previous to everything that came about. You have them as part of a pantheistic worldview, meaning that everything always existed, and they find themselves within this existence creating out of themselves. Therefore, everything that exists is a piece of God. So that wouldn't really work. How about the deistic God? Deism is a philosophy. This came about the 17th, 18th centuries that was very popular in the West. And basically, it was the Christian God without God's intervention. It's the idea of the God, or let's put it this way, the unmoved mover, Aristotle's God, without any intervention, because basically they'd say it, if God is above time and he started it all, he can't intervene in time at all. The problem with that is that he intervened whenever he started it all, and we do have evidence throughout history of him intervening. But we still put it up there because it is a representative of the unmoved mover. What about the Big Bang? Isn't the Big Bang the unmoved mover? Well, not really, because the Big Bang has nothing previous to it. The Big Bang itself is a description of what happened, but it is not the agent behind that which happened. So it is not Aristotle's unmoved mover. So whoever is calling upon the Big Bang as the creator of the universe, they don't really understand what they're talking about because it doesn't fit the metaphysical requirements. How about science itself? Science itself is the unmoved mover. Well, the problem with that is that science has no agency as well. Science is just how things happen. kind of like the Big Bang, what happened, but this is how it all happened. But it doesn't give us any explanation. It does not have any prior agency, therefore it cannot have brought it about. So we come back and we say, okay, these are the only ones that really work in our scenario. Yahweh is the only one who works in the scenario of intervention, because, like I said, deistic God does not work that way. And so also God is the one who has personality. But I'd also put Aristotle's God here, but both, or excuse me, Allah here, but both of these, Allah and Yahweh, actually move beyond Aristotle's unmoved mover, because Aristotle's unmoved mover didn't necessarily have the personality that we are looking for when we talk about the Christian God, and to some degree the Islamic God. And when I say personality, I mean it is a person behind it all, not just a force agent, impersonal force agent. When we talk about Scripture, let's look at this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So basically, in the beginning, God was there, because he has to have agency before whatever comes out of this agency, by the agency's power, brings this about. And he created the heavens and the earth, not out of himself, not out of pre-existing matter, because this wouldn't fit. This is not unmoved mover. But he himself brought all that is in being into being out of what? Out of what material? Out of nothing. That is part of the philosophical necessity, but also the necessary miracle that brings about what it is we're doing right now, because we exist. Psalm 33, 6 and 9 says, by the word of the Lord the heavens were made. That's the power. The word of the Lord means his agency is the power. Their starry host by the breath of his mouth, for he spoke and it came to be. He commanded and it stood firm. Isaiah says, all the counsel you have received has only worn you out. Let your astrologers come forward. This one we read earlier, which applies here too. The stargazers who make predictions month by month, let them save you from what is coming. James 1:17 says, for every good and perfect gift is from above. So that's the agency. What is above? This is a reference to God, coming down from the Father of lights, who does not change like shifting shadows, because God cannot change. And he does not change because he decides not to every day. Like, I am not going to change. I'm going to stay myself. I've got to keep this. He has to. Be above and beyond, being the unmoved mover, you don't move. You can't move. You are the one who is the agency of all moving. Therefore, what? Therefore, you can't change, because you can't have any before and after. You're the one who brought even time into being. In the beginning, you laid the foundations of the earth. They are going to perish, but you remain. You remain the same. All of your years will never end. Basically, he is say. That's what a fancy term theologians use. Say. And we sometimes put those two together and say this is God's aseity. It is his self-sufficiency. You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. You created all things, and by your will they were created and have their being. Okay, now the fourth one, you may think we've covered it all, but I think it's very good for us to see this extending a bit, because whenever you're talking about the unmoved mover, you're kind of conceiving of what started it all. You're talking, sometimes we call this the teleos, the teleological beginning of all things. What was that? We see a purpose that everything is moving towards, so therefore we back all the way up and we say, what started this purpose? Who did this purpose come from? But whenever you're talking about this concept, the greatest conceivable being, this was Saint Anselm of Canterbury in the 10th century, who, incredible philosopher, advanced a lot of stuff that we understand today. And as he was thinking about God, he thought of God not just as the unmoved mover, but here's how he put it: that God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. So if you think of God that way, in every single, we call it quality making, or good making quality, great making quality. Whenever you're talking about great making qualities like his goodness, his knowledge, his power, all of these are that which, whatever you can conceive of as the greatest, that is God. You're talking about God there. The only way a human can define God is to look at these qualities of his greatness and see them as big as you can conceive them. And if you do not conceive them as big as they can be, then you're not thinking of God, according to Anselm. So some examples of this you have is Yahweh. That's it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Now I'm sure other places could say that's our God too, but it's a very philosophical concept. And so therefore, whenever we're looking at this, it is pure philosophy almost. And in the scriptures, there are some things that we can look at. Isaiah 40:25 says, "To whom will you compare me? Or who is my equal?" Nothing. There's nothing to compare you to. You are the greatest conceivable being. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. Psalm 145:3. His greatness no one can fathom. Okay, look at this again. You're talking about the greatness of God, the incomprehensibility of God. Sometimes we talk about this as the ineffability. Ineffable. God is ineffable. He is. You cannot conceive of how great he is. Now, this is going to get us into something more in just a little bit, but it won't take long. But think of that. He's so great, there's no one who can conceive of you. There's no way to fathom God. That is very important. In Romans 11:33 through 36, it says, and I love Paul's doxologies. These are my favorite places. And notice, again, how many scriptures there are. I'm not just picking to lighten things up or to somehow sanctify my lesson and putting scriptures in here. The scriptures really do teach this idea. Oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable. Notice that word right there, unsearchable. Underline that. How unsearchable are his judgments and his path beyond tracing out. Why? Because he is ineffable. He's beyond our ability to think that big about. Who has known the mind of the Lord, and who has been his counselor? For from him and through him and for him are all things. Isn't that great? I mean, again, I just love his doxologies. If you could just go through a lesson sometime, a theology of the doxologies of Paul. There are so many of them, and they are so great. Notice here Job. Job says, he says, this is Job 11. Can you fathom the mysteries of God? Can you probe the limits of the Almighty? Now, I'm pretty sure that's his friend talking, but it doesn't mean his friend doesn't have good theology at times. It says they are higher than the heavens above. What can you do? They are deeper than the depths below. What can you know? And I think that is a very true statement. Now, notice here, this is so great. This is my favorite doxology. You may think I'm weird because it's my favorite doxology, but it is so packed with so much truth. 1 Timothy 6:15 and 16. It says, God, the blessed and only ruler. Okay, that's not it yet, but that is great. The King of Kings. That's not it yet either, but that is great. He put himself above the rest. The Lord of Lords. That's not it. But man, isn't this pushing God and elevating him to where your thoughts are bigger and bigger? Now notice here, just in case your thoughts aren't big enough, because he's the only ruler or the King of Kings or the Lord of Lords, it says this, who is alone immortal. He is the only, if you're talking about immortality, yes, we may live forever after having been created. But we are not immortal like God is. He is alone immortal. And who lives, where does God live? Where is the ontology, the essence, the stuff of God? When we really, really want to go see God and I want to look at him, where is he at? It says, well, I got bad news for you. He lives in an unapproachable light. You cannot go there. Why can't you go there? Well, are you kidding? Do you really think humans, creation, could ever see the ultimate reality of God? It is too great. He shows himself to us truly, but never fully. Notice this. Now, who lives in an unapproachable light, who no one has seen or can see. It's not just that nobody yet has seen him. You know, you're not holy enough. Once Christ dies and then you become like Christ in righteousness, then we'll let you see him. It is not that. It is not possible. God could no more let you see him than he could cease to be God, because his essence is above and beyond time. It's above and beyond creation. It is an infinite essence. But we see him truly. We see him truly in the fullness of Christ. We see him truly whenever we're talking about manifestations of him. We hear him truly whenever he wants to talk to us or tell us something. But to him be honor and might forever. I love that scripture. It just says so much. So let's chart this out. This is what I started this entire thing for. I started with this chart. You may have seen this chart before. It is the arc or the arch. Either way, I think they both work. But the arch, it kind of looks like a rainbow here, okay? Now notice here, here's what we're going to do to build it out. And you've probably seen a lot of this before, but you're going to like what I've done, a new one, a new addition. So all of creation is below the arc. So you got Earth, people, you've got the solar system, and you've got every other galaxy there is. So think of whatever is below the arc. It is that which has been created and exists in our current realm. Whenever God recreates everything, this is what he's recreating. That which is above the ark. Below the ark, excuse me. So when we're talking about the number one, we've got God as that which we worship. This is where we worship him. Okay, but what happened? Let's put it this way. What happens when you die in this realm? Are you still in this realm? No, you get taken up to a different realm, and we would call this the celestial realm. So this is where you have all of these powers that be, whatever they may be, lots and lots of powers in the celestial realm. You've got the throne of God. This is what we say, that we'll see whenever, or some of the saints talk about seeing. The Isaiah talks about God approaching him, and this is the throne and the Shekinah glory of God. It is a true manifestation of God, and you've got Christ. Christ is in his body forever. Did you know that? Christ is forever taken on the hypostatic union. It's not a temporary thing. He didn't say, whenever I get done being a human, I can't wait to going back and living without a body. No, he lives forever, just like us, as our pioneer, as our high priest, forever. Not a temporary thing, because he has to represent us forever. His righteousness is forever our righteousness. So he represents us forever. And so therefore, the reason why I say that is because there is a place in the celestial realm that Christ is. So in this realm, it's not as if this is a realm that doesn't have activity. People do things. Christ is up there. Whenever you die, your spirit goes somewhere. And this realm has time and extension in space. Why? Because this is the way everything in creation has. We may understand it differently, but at the same time, there will always be activity in this realm. There will always be a before and after, because there is action. If there wasn't any action, it would be a static non-existence for us, because we are not God and we do not possess the fullness of all things. So you've got the angels, you've got the throne of God, you got Jesus, we got the people who died. Is that angel carrying somebody? I thought I had that made, but now it looks kind of weird. That angel looks like it has an idol in its hands. Okay, so what do we do with this? Let's assume that's a good angel, not a bad angel. What do we do with this, and how do we look at it in relation to everything we've talked about? Well, right now we've got God as that which we worship and God as that which we see in a celestial realm. And isn't this also part of the creation? All of this, yes. In the beginning, God created the heavens up there, everything that's up there, whatever realm you have, God created. That's what they would refer to as the heavens. And then the earth means everything here in creation that we see. So you have this. You have creation, and notice here you have time. This is where time exists. Everything below that exists in some form of time, some form of activity. Let's put it that way, because I think that may be better. Time as a measurement of movement. There will always be some type of measurement of movement because there will always be activity below this arc. So we will forever be in time. Any thoughts that people may have of saying, I can't wait for one day whenever timelessness is with me. Well, you're not going to be God. You cannot have timelessness. You cannot have non-activity. You don't even want it because it won't work with you. Only God exists. Now, right here, here's where you have, in the beginning, God created. God as that which we see is the creator, brought all of this into existence. The heavens and the earth. The big arc and the smaller arc. And I'm telling you, there's so much more to it than this. I mean, we're given little bits and pieces. We don't even understand our own realm. We're discovering new things all the time. But this other realm and how they cross over in the dimensions, this is something that I promise you is forever discovery. We will never stop learning and growing into this realm. But God created it all. Okay, so where's God? Well, God is that which we see as the greatest conceivable being. Whatever God is, he exists above this, our conceptions. Our conceptions, let's say they all exist down here, and forever they exist down here, whether it's in the celestial realm or in the earth, heavens or the earth. That is where we conceive of things. It's the only place we can conceive. So God is greater than that. He's the biggest conception we can possibly have. That than which no greater can be conceived. But let me just throw this in here, just in case you were already thinking it. You've got, but can we really conceive of God? See, I'm kind of a mystic these days. I don't think our finite minds can conceive of God. Everybody believes that, really. I'm not saying just mystics do, but I really leave a whole lot to the realm of mystery these days because I think there's so much more. So I would even add this next one here, and I would say God really is greater. This is number 5. Greater than the greatest conceivable being, isn't he? I mean, do we think he's actually the greatest conceivable being? No, that would exist within human conception. He is greater, that which is greater than the greatest conceivable being. So I think when we're looking at God and understanding God, we need to understand him in all 5 of these. And I think it will be helpful, even the last one, because I would love for you to begin in your thoughts, in your prayers, in the presence of God, to begin to punt to mystery. Is that okay way to put it? Punt to mystery. I hope you enjoyed this. One more thing. ThroughTheChurchFathers.com. That is a place that I want you to go. I want you to become a part of. We're getting ready to get to the mystics. So go there and you'll read every day with us. It is such a good time. We are all enjoying it so much. Also, go to my Patreon. If you enjoy what I'm doing, you want to support it, please, please, please go there and help me because I cannot exist without you. I really do need your help. I promise. And another thing, like this. Like the videos, comment, do whatever. Send it to a friend if it's good. If it's no good, just, I don't know why you made it to the end. But I thank you for making it to the end. All right, I'll see you next time.
Theology